The prairie was quiet that evening, the kind of quiet that settles in your bones and makes you wonder what's waiting just beyond the horizon. The sun was sinking low, painting the sky in streaks of orange and violet, and the only sound was the soft rustle of wind through the tall grass. Sam Carter, the rancher, stood on his porch, hat in hand, watching the last of the light fade from the world. He'd always liked this time of day, the hush before nightfall, when the land seemed to hold its breath. But tonight, something felt different. There was a tension in the air, a sense that the peace he'd worked so hard to build was about to be shattered. He tried to shake the feeling, telling himself it was just the memory of old troubles, but the unease wouldn't leave him. He was about to head inside when he saw her, a figure moving along the fence line, stumbling through the grass as if every step was a struggle. Sam's heart kicked up, and he moved quickly, boots thudding against the porch boards. As he drew closer, he saw it was a woman, her dress torn and dirty, her hair tangled, her face streaked with sweat and fear. She stopped when she saw him, eyes wide and wild, breath coming in short, desperate gasps. For a moment, neither of them spoke. The wind carried the silence between them, heavy and uncertain. "Please," she managed, her voice raw, "I need help." Sam nodded, his voice gentle. "You're safe here. Come on inside." She hesitated, glancing over her shoulder as if expecting someone or something to come crashing out of the darkness. Sam saw the way her hands shook, the bruises on her arms, the way she flinched at every sound. He didn't ask questions. He just led her to the house, moving slow, letting her set the pace. Inside, he offered her water, a blanket, a seat by the fire. She sat stiffly, her eyes darting around the room, never settling for long. Sam busied himself with the kettle, giving her space, letting the warmth and the quiet do their work. After a while, she spoke, her voice barely above a whisper. "They'll never stop hunting me." Sam turned, meeting her gaze. There was a fierceness in her eyes, a stubborn spark that refused to be snuffed out no matter how much fear she carried. He recognized it. He'd seen it in men on the run, in women who'd lost everything but their will to survive. "Who's after you?" he asked, keeping his tone soft. She shook her head, pulling the blanket tighter around her shoulders. "It doesn't matter. They don't care about the law. They don't care about right or wrong. They just want what they want, and they'll do anything to get it." Sam felt a cold anger settle in his chest. He'd known men like that, men who thought the world owed them, who took what they wanted and left ruin behind. He'd spent his life trying to build something different, something better, but he knew how quickly darkness could find its way in. "You're safe here," he said again, more firmly this time. She looked at him, searching his face for any sign of doubt. Whatever she saw there seemed to steady her, if only a little. She nodded, her shoulders relaxing just a fraction. "My name's Grace," she said quietly. "Sam," he replied, offering a small, reassuring smile. They sat in silence for a while, the fire crackling between them. Outside, the wind picked up, rattling the windows. Grace flinched, her eyes darting to the door. Sam noticed, and without a word, he stood and crossed the room. He reached for his rifle, checking the chamber with practiced hands. The gesture was calm, deliberate, a promise more than a threat. Grace watched him, her fear mingling with something like hope. For the first time since she'd arrived, she let herself believe that maybe, just maybe, she'd found a place where she could stop running. But as the night deepened and the shadows grew long, Sam knew the peace wouldn't last. Whatever or whoever was hunting Grace, they wouldn't give up easily. And when they came, he'd be ready. The night pressed in close around the ranch, thick with the kind of silence that makes every creak and whisper sound like a warning. Sam sat by the window, rifle across his knees, eyes fixed on the darkness outside. Grace slept fitfully on the old sofa, her body curled tight beneath the blanket, as if she could make herself small enough to disappear. Every so often she'd start awake, eyes wide, breath coming fast, and Sam would murmur a few quiet words to reassure her. He didn't ask what haunted her dreams. He already knew the shape of fear. Hours passed. The fire burned low, casting long shadows on the walls. Sam's mind wandered to the stories he'd heard in town, rumors of a gang moving through the territory, men with no conscience and no patience for mercy. He wondered if Grace's pursuers were the same men or if her troubles were older, deeper, the kind that never really let go. Just before dawn, Grace woke with a gasp, sitting bolt upright. Sam was at her side in an instant, his presence steady and calm. "It's all right," he said softly. "You're safe. No one's here but us." She nodded, pressing a trembling hand to her mouth. "I dreamed they found me. I could hear their voices, see their faces. I thought I'd never get away." Sam poured her a cup of water, waiting while she drank. "You're not alone anymore," he said. "Whatever comes, we'll face it together." Grace looked at him, her eyes shining with unshed tears. "Why are you doing this? You don't even know me." Sam shrugged. "The answer's simple. Because it's right. Because someone has to." The sun rose slow and pale, painting the world in soft gold. Grace helped Sam with the morning chores, her movements cautious but determined. She fed the chickens, gathered eggs, swept the porch. Sam watched her, admiring the way she pushed through her fear, refusing to let it rule her. As the day wore on, Grace began to talk, haltingly at first, then with more confidence. She told Sam about the men who hunted her, how they'd taken everything from her family, and how she'd run for days through the wilderness, never daring to stop. She spoke of the leader, a man named Burke, whose cruelty was matched only by his persistence. "He doesn't forgive," she said, her voice flat. "He doesn't forget. If he finds me, he'll make sure I never run again." Sam listened, anger simmering beneath his calm exterior. He'd seen men like Burke, bullies who thrived on fear, who believed the world belonged to them. He'd spent his life standing up to men like that, and he wasn't about to stop now. "You're not alone," he said again, "not anymore."
Grace managed a small smile, the first real one he'd seen. "Thank you, Sam. I don't know what I would have done if you hadn't found me." He nodded, feeling the weight of her gratitude settle on his shoulders. It was a heavy thing, but not unwelcome. He'd carried worse burdens. That afternoon, Sam rode out to check the far pasture, leaving Grace with a pistol and strict instructions to lock the doors and stay inside. The land was quiet, the sky wide and empty, but Sam's nerves were taut, every sense alert for danger. He found nothing out of place, but the feeling of unease lingered. When he returned, Grace was waiting on the porch, her eyes scanning the horizon. "Did you see anything?" she asked. Sam shook his head. "Not yet, but we need to be ready. If they come, they'll come fast." Grace nodded, her jaw set with determination. "I won't run this time. I'm tired of being afraid." Sam felt a surge of pride. "That's good. Fear keeps you alive, but it can't be the only thing you feel, not if you want to live." As evening fell, they prepared the house, barricading the doors, checking the ammunition, making sure every lamp was filled and every window covered. The work was quiet, methodical, the kind of preparation that comes from knowing what's at stake. When the last light faded, Sam and Grace sat together by the fire, sharing a simple meal. The silence between them was no longer heavy with fear, but filled with a quiet resolve. Whatever came, they would face it together. Outside, the wind howled, and somewhere in the distance a coyote called. Sam tightened his grip on the rifle, his eyes never leaving the darkness beyond the window. He knew the night wasn't done with them yet. The hours crawled by, each one heavier than the last. Grace sat near the fire, her hands wrapped around a mug, eyes fixed on the flickering flames. Sam paced the floor, every sense tuned to the slightest sound outside. The night was thick, pressing in on the little house, and the wind rattled the shutters like ghostly fingers. For a long time nothing happened, but both of them knew it was only a matter of time. Just after midnight, the horses in the corral began to stir, snorting and stamping. Sam froze, listening. Grace's breath caught in her throat. Then came the sound, hoofs on hard ground, low voices, the unmistakable jingle of spurs. Sam moved to the window, careful to stay in the shadows. He saw 3 men, their shapes black against the moonlit yard, moving with the confidence of hunters who believed their prey had nowhere left to run. Grace's face went pale. "That's them," she whispered. "Burke's men." Sam nodded, his voice low and steady. "Stay here. Keep the pistol close. If anything happens, you know what to do." She nodded, her jaw clenched, fear and determination warring in her eyes. The men approached the house, their leader Burke calling out in a voice that was both mocking and cold. "We know you're in there, girl. Come out now and maybe we'll let the old man live." Sam stepped onto the porch, rifle in hand, his silhouette framed by the doorway. "You're not taking her anywhere," he called back, his voice carrying across the yard. Burke laughed, the sound sharp and cruel. "You think you can stop us, rancher? You don't know who you're dealing with." Sam didn't flinch. "I know enough. You want her. You'll have to go through me." The standoff stretched, the night holding its breath. Burke's men fanned out, hands hovering near their guns. Sam's grip tightened on the rifle, his eyes never leaving Burke's face. Then, in a blur of motion, Burke drew his pistol. Sam was faster. The rifle cracked, the shot echoing across the prairie. Burke staggered, dropping his gun, and chaos erupted. The other 2 men fired wildly, bullets splintering the porch rail. Sam ducked behind a post, returning fire with calm precision. 1 man fell. The other turned and ran, disappearing into the darkness. When the shooting stopped, the yard was silent, except for the ragged sound of Grace's breathing. Sam lowered his rifle, heart pounding, and stepped back inside. Grace was still by the fire, the pistol clutched in her hands, her eyes wide but unbroken. "It's over," Sam said softly. "You're safe now." Grace stared at him, disbelief and relief mingling on her face. Then, slowly, she began to cry. Not the tears of fear, but of release, of a burden finally lifted. Sam sat beside her, letting the silence settle around them, a silence that was no longer heavy with dread, but filled with the promise of something new. In the days that followed, the ranch began to feel different. The shadows that had haunted Grace faded, replaced by sunlight and laughter. She worked alongside Sam, her steps growing lighter and her voice stronger. The fear that had once ruled her life loosened its grip, replaced by a quiet strength. Sam watched her, pride swelling in his chest. He knew the world was still a dangerous place, that there would always be men like Burke lurking in the shadows. But he also knew that courage could be found in the most unlikely places. In a woman who refused to give up, in a rancher who chose to stand his ground. One evening, as the sun set over the prairie, Grace stood beside Sam on the porch, watching the sky blaze with color. She reached for his hand, her grip steady and sure. "Thank you," she said, her voice clear and strong. "You're welcome. You're safe here, and you always will be."
The prairie was quiet again, but this time it was a peaceful quiet, the kind that comes after a storm, when the world feels new and full of hope.